Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a really powerful framework for understanding what drives anxiety in neurodivergent individuals. We're going to get into why it's so incredibly common and what's really happening beneath the surface, all with the help of a leading expert in the field. So, who's guiding us on this journey? Let me introduce you to Dr. Lilia Wheatcraft. She's a medical doctor and a neuroaffirming specialist who is genuinely changing the conversation around the neurodivergent mind. And this is why her perspective is so powerful. She's not only a medical doctor, but she's also the creator of the AUTISTIC framework. This combination gives us a lens that is both scientifically solid and, just as importantly, deeply empowering.
All right, just a quick heads up. What we're covering today is really a bird's eye view of the first module in her framework. It's going to give you a fantastic foundation, but for the really deep dive, the full e-learning course is where you'll find all the detailed strategies, and this is key. Direct access to trainers for personalized support.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We've met our expert. Next, we'll face the stark reality of anxiety. Then we'll break down the 3 core drivers, see how they lock you into a vicious circle, and finally, talk about what you can do next.
All right, first things first. Let's really ground ourselves in why this conversation is so absolutely critical. The scale of this issue is, well, it's bigger than most people realize.
To get a sense of the real-world impact, let's just start with the simple question, right? How common do you think clinical anxiety actually is?
Okay, so if you look at the general population, studies pretty consistently put the number for clinical anxiety at around 10 to 12%. Not insignificant, for sure. Now, try to lock that number in your head.
Now, look at this. For neurodivergent adults, that number skyrockets to as high as 90%. 90. I mean, that's not just a small difference. That is a fundamentally different world, a completely different lived experience.
And you know, these aren't just statistics on a page. This is real life. This quote from a 55-year-old autistic adult, it says it all, doesn't it? It has a profound, painful, and deeply personal impact. So, that massive gap just begs the question, why? What on earth is driving this huge difference? Well, to really get it, we need to update our vocabulary and move past some of the old, unhelpful models. For years, we were stuck with these really confusing, kind of negative terms on the left. I mean, what does weak central coherence even mean to an everyday person? The big important shift is moving to the concepts on the right, language that's not just affirming, but actually makes sense. Okay, so driver number 1 is interoception. The simplest way to think about this is it's your body's internal messaging system. It's how you know you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're tired, or even feeling happy or anxious. It's that mind-body connection. Next up, driver number 2, the need for predictability. And let's be super clear on this. This is not a character flaw. It's not about being rigid. It's a fundamental drive to create stability in a world that can feel intensely chaotic. It's an essential tool for self-regulation.
And our third driver is a detail-oriented cognitive style. You know the saying, can't see the forest for the trees? Well, this is kind of like seeing all the incredible, intricate details of every single tree first, and then building the picture of the forest from there. It's a bottom-up way of processing the world.
So we have our 3 drivers, but the real key here is that they don't operate in their own little silos. They all interact with each other, and they can create what Dr. Wheatcraft calls a vicious circle of anxiety.
Let's walk through a perfect everyday example. A meeting gets canceled last minute. For many, that's just a minor hiccup. But right there, that challenges the need for predictability. Then, the detail-oriented brain kicks into high gear, trying to process every single implication of this change. All that mental work creates very real physical feelings, a pounding heart, tense muscles. And here's where interoception comes in. If you have a hard time reading those internal signals accurately, you don't just feel stressed, you feel a terrifying sense of being out of control. And that feeling, it just skyrockets the anxiety. A tiny change creates a massive spiral.
And this is such a breakthrough moment. This framework completely reframes things like stimming or needing a solid routine. For so long, they were seen as symptoms, but they're not. They are brilliant, highly effective, and absolutely essential tools for self-regulation. It's the brain's smart way of managing these drivers.
I love this metaphor of a stress bucket. Just imagine all the uncertainties and sensory inputs of the day, constantly filling it up. Well, creating predictability through things like routines, that's like opening a little tap at the bottom of the bucket. It lets the stress drain out before it overflows. It's proactive.
So now that we have this foundational understanding of what's going on, the big question is, what do we do about it? Where do we go from here?
With this explainer, you now have the what and the why. You know the 3 core drivers, and you get how they can create that vicious circle. You have the core framework. But, understanding is just step 1. To make a real, lasting change in your life, you need the how. You need the actual practical tools and strategies to manage these drivers day in and day out. And that how is exactly what the full Autistic Framework e-learning course is all about. You get in-depth modules for each driver, but honestly, the real game changer is the dedicated access to the trainers, including Dr. Wheatcroft herself, so you can get personalized guidance. The link for that is waiting for you in the description.
So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. What would it mean for you, or for someone you care about, to not just understand anxiety, but to have a clear, expert-guided path to turn that understanding into real, effective, personalized action? Just think about that.